Dear all students, hope you are well. Welcome to Amader Pathshala, presented by Manipur Uccha Vidyalaya and College. Our today's lesson from the chapter number 4, Human Physiology, Blood and Circulation of the HSC level students, chapter 2 from the subject of biology. The learning outcome is, at the end of this lesson, you will be able to know to tell what is human heart, describe the structure of human heart, and analyze the junctional tissues of human heart. Firstly, we show a video that is consists of human heart's structure. So, the human heart consists of the left and right atrium and left and right ventricle, and pumping the blood born to death. Position of the human heart. The human heart always located between the two lungs in a specific area, and we know that human heart always oriented into the left side. That means only slightly oriented from the left side, and it is covered by the pericardium and positioned between two lungs. The diaphragm lies below part of the lungs. So it is the base of the heart. So location of heart in thoracic cavity. Structure of heart. Already we know about the heart are two atrium and two ventricle. They are also called the four chambered, and human heart also consists of the some artery and veins. Structure of human heart. Firstly, we note about the shape and size, coverings, wall of heart, heart chambers, cardiac valves, junctional tissues of heart, and muscles of the heart. Firstly, we know some definition of the human heart. That means what is heart, what is cardiac muscle, what is artery and vein, and what do you mean by cardiac valves, and also the junctional tissues. So, human heart is a hollow muscular organ that pumps blood throughout the blood vessel into the whole body. And cardiac muscles, human heart consists of some involuntary muscles. They are called the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles not only consist of the human heart, but also it helps to the human heart for pumping. That means contraction and relaxation process. And other two part are the artery and vein. Artery, which types of the vein there carries the oxygenated blood from the heart to the human body, and the vein is other of the dark, that is collect the deoxygenated blood from the body to the human heart. And some cardiac valve consist of the human heart. About 6 types of the cardiac valves consist of the human heart. They are always control the blood contraction and relaxation. Junctional tissue, some tissues composed of the human heart, they are not only in functionally involuntary, it also helps to the pumps the blood throughout the human heart. Structure and function of the human heart. Human heart consists of the four chambers. Number 1, left atrium. Number 2, right atrium. Number 3, left ventricle. Number 4, right ventricle. So, the structure of human heart consists of the several topics. Firstly, we know about the shape and size of the human heart. A reddish brown muscular organ about the size of a clenched fist, slightly oriented toward the left. That means it is slightly oriented to the left side, and measures about 12 length about 12 centimeter and breadth about 6 centimeter, and weighs around 250 to 350 gram. And covering system of human heart, it is the double wall sex. It's called the pericardium, and composed of the is two layer. One is parietal layer, others is the visceral layer or epicardium. It is the external structure of the human heart. So, human heart consists of the four chambered left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle, and there are the some artery and vein. So, it is the aorta, it is the pulmonary artery, that means left pulmonary artery, it is the right pulmonary artery, and some of the vein that is called the right pulmonary veins and left pulmonary veins. It is called the superior vena cava. It is called the inferior vena cava. They are consist of the human heart. And some of the artery that is called the coronary artery lies into the wall of the human heart that pumps the oxygen blood to the cardiac muscles. As a result, cardiac muscles always living, and they are pumps, they are helps to the pumping the blood through the human heart. And also shows the slightly oriented into the left side of the human heart. It's called the apex. That means it is the most of the upper part of the human heart. So it is called the external structure of the human heart. Wall of the human heart. Human heart consists of the three layers: epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium, and it is also covered by the pericardium layer. So, it is the pericardium layer, also called the fibrous tissue system. It is one of the pericardium layer, and pericardium layers separate from the epicardium, in a fluid that is called the pericardial fluid, and it is positioned into the pericardial cavity. And other two wall are the myocardium and endocardium. The second one of the layer consists the human heart is called the myocardium. And then, it is called the myocardium. And last one is the endocardium. Last one is the endocardium part of the human heart. The epicardium consists of the connective tissue, and myocardium consists of the cardiac muscles, and the endocardium consists of the connective tissue. Now, we show the chamber of the human heart. The human heart is four chambered, two atria and two ventricles. Atria are two types. Number one is left atrium and number two is right atrium. And ventricles are two types, left ventricles and right ventricles. Atria is always a singular atrium, and the plural is the auricles. The internal structure of the human heart. Human heart composed of the left right atrium and left and right ventricle, and some of the valves control the blood circulation. One is called the aortic valve, other is called the semilunar valve, and one is the aortic valve. So all of the valves control the blood from the flow of right atrium to the right ventricle and left atrium to the left ventricle. And it is the brachiocephalic artery, it is the left common cardiac artery, it is the left subclavian artery, and it is called the aorta. And it is the left pulmonary arteries, it is the right pulmonary arteries. So if we draw a level diagram of human heart, how can we draw how do I draw level diagram of the human heart in only the longitudinal section of human heart, that means internal structure. It is a internal structure of the human heart. It is called right atrium, and it is the one of the valve, it is others of the valve, it is others valves, it is the other valve. Their control flow from the right atrium to left atrium, and it is control the to the left ventricle. So that it is control the right left atrium to the left ventricle. It is control the blood from the right atrium to the right ventricle. So it is the longitudinal section of human heart. So how to draw a level diagram of the internal structure of the human heart? Coronary arteries. That means human heart consists of the coronary arteries that carries the blood from the aorta to the cardiac muscle. That means wall of the human heart. One is called the left coronary artery, others is called the right coronary artery. It is a focusing of the longitudinal section of the human heart. So we can see the valve. One is called the pulmonary valve, other is called the tricuspid valve, it is called the aortic valve, it is called the mitral valve. So all of the valves control the blood flow amongst the human heart. So the left and right atrium and left and right ventricle. So always pump the blood into the lungs and human body. So heart valves, we can see the some semilunar valves, and we can see the left subclavian artery, and others is the atrioventricular valve, and we can see the others of the thinking matter that is called the inferior vena cava. So, and the two ventricle always severed by the septum. Name of the cardiac valves. One is bicuspid valves, one is tricuspid valves, others is aortic valves, and pulmonary valves, coronary valve, and eustachian valve. So, it is the bicuspid valve. That means there are the two layer, and it is called the tricuspid valve. That there is the three layer. The aortic valve, there is the three layer. Others the pulmonary valve, there is the three layer. It is the anterior view. It is the posterior view. Beside this, some junctional tissues. Some junctional tissues consist the human heart. The junctional tissue, which type of the tissue, they are helps to the blood, helps to the heart to contraction and relaxation. We know that the human heart always contract and relax without any of the stimulation. But what type of the matter they are pumps the blood, and how can the contract and relax human heart? So it is a mechanism, that means electrical signal mechanism, or it's called the sinoatrial node, others called the atrioventricular node. So now we can see about the junctional tissues. They are helps to the contract and relax the human heart. The electrical pulses follows the human heart. The first of the node that create the electrical signal, that is called the sinoatrial node, and briefly called the SA node. And others is the node that receive the signal from the sinoatrial node, that is called the atrioventricular node. And other thing is the AV node. And number 3 of the node, that is called the His bundle, that receive the electrical signal from the AV node. And last one is the Purkinje fibers, that is branched into the apex of human heart, and that receive the electrical signal from the His bundle. As a result, the human heart contract. So the contraction and relaxation process completed by the some electrical node, that is called the junctional tissues. So the junctional tissues are sinoatrial node, that is called the SA node, SAN node, and others is the atrioventricular node, that is called the AV node, and others is the bundle of His, that is called the BS, and last one is the Purkinje fibers. So they helps the contact of the human heart. So the tissues positions as the firstly sinoatrial node is positioned between the right atrium and attachment of the superior vena cava. So first electrical signal originated from the SA node, and that signal flows from the SA node into the atrioventricular node. That means the electrical signal received by the AV node from the SA node. That means the sinoatrial node create the electrical signal for contraction and relaxation of the human heart. And that signals received by the atrioventricular node from the SA node. Okay? Dear students, that is clear to you? So, the others of the branch tissue, that is called the bundle of His. That is called the bundle of His. That means the electrical signals received by the bundle of His from the atrioventricular node. And finally, that signals follows the apex, that means lower part of the human heart. The tissues is called the Purkinje fibers. As a result, the contraction is completed by the human heart. So, the tissues are synovial node, atrioventricular node, bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. Muscles of the human heart. The human heart consists by the cardiac muscles. That is the functions as the involuntary. What is the muscle of the cardiac muscle? Cardiac muscles structurally involuntary, but functionally voluntary muscle. So it is structurally that means cardiac muscles structurally voluntary muscles, but functionally is the involuntary. But functionally it is the involuntary muscles. So it is the special type of the muscle that composed of the human heart. And cytoplasm of the cardiac muscle contains many parallel arranged myofibrils. That means their body consists of the some myofibrils, and it is the branch. And branch cells are connected by means intercalated discs. That means the some intercalated discs present into the cardiac muscle. And the major cardiac muscle functions is pumping blood to the blood vessels for circulation through the body. So now we show a figure of the cardiac muscles. The cardiac muscles is a branch muscle. Now we can see the intercalated discs. It is the specialty of the tissues that is covered by the cardiac muscles. And openings, the transverse tubule and gap junctions. That means it is as the screw type system. That is attach the cardiac muscles. And the mitochondria present into the cardiac muscle, that is also called the powerhouse of the cell. That creates energy and supplies the human heart for pumping blood, and by the vice versa is the control the blood relaxation. So some of the nucleus present into the cardiac muscles, and the sarcolemma covered by the cardiac muscles. and some of the organelle that is called the desmosomes that is present into the cardiac muscles. Some key points are artery and vein. Artery consists the aorta, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries, right coronary artery, left coronary artery. The aorta pumps the blood into the body, and pulmonary arteries carries the carbon dioxide blood, that means deoxygenated blood into the lungs. And right and left coronary artery carries the oxygen into the wall of heart. Okay? All dear students, as called the vena cava, one is superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and middle cardiac vein, a small cardiac vein, and anterior vein. Superior and inferior vena cava carries the deoxygenated blood from body to the human heart. Okay, body to the human heart. And right and left pulmonary carries the oxygen into the lungs. So it is the introduction of the artery and vein of the human heart. Functions of the human heart. Human heart pumps the blood. That is, it is the part of the circulatory system and circulates blood through the pathway, pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. Contains the electrical pacemaker producing the heartbeat, and heart chambers are completely separate. That means they are carries the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood into our body to lungs, lungs to the body. And the functions of the human heart in a figure. So 1, 2, and 4, 5, 10, 6. The main functions of the human heart. That is it is called the superior and inferior vena cava that carries the deoxygenated blood into the lungs, and left pulmonary artery and aorta that carries the oxygen into the heart, and aorta carries the oxygenated blood throughout the human body. One of the homework for is describe the structure and functions of the human heart. So, dear all students, thanks to all participants in this class. Allah Hafiz.